This is RNG in an MMO done right. I was also super curious what this preach video here was. MMO grinding can be fun. And I know probably going to be about some kind of Final Fantasy system. Yeah. I know that's like one of his favorite MMOs right now as far as like the systems go. I'm really curious to see.
One thing that when it comes up, you go, in MMOs. And not only MMOs, but
Maybe have
online
that
games
too far away.
for literally decades now. But what if that could change? Talk about farming.
Talking about farming.
There's something that's constantly been impressing me.
Yeah, I do too.
Phoenix's model, and this isn't just an FF.
I'm really curious to see what he has to say here.
Does have some flaws, but it's such a step in the right direction. It doesn't matter what game it is, whether it be your Call of Duties, your Apex Legends, your MMOs, your any online game has this fear and base model when they design every single system, and that is how do we keep the players online all the time? Because if they have this.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's one of the things that's starting to bother me about like online, continual service games, MMOs, all these types of games. After playing something like Elden Ring, it doesn't do any of that kind of stuff to you, right? Like, you're not ever logging onto the game because you're feeling like, oh, I have to log on because there's this weird retention mechanic that, basically says, gotta log in every single day and do stuff or else you're screwing yourself. It was really refreshing to play a game that I wanted to play every day with zero of that, right? There is no even like comparing yourself to other people. It was just because it was really fun. There wasn't any bullshit systems of like, you need to log in and you need to do this.
Complete fear that if you're not playing their game, you're not spending money with them, and you're playing something else and you're spending money with those guys, right? That's it. So it comes down to when we're talking about farming, you've seen every system under the book at this point. You've seen prestige levels, honor levels, reputation levels, and they're usually in some way
I haven't really played a shooter game in a long time other than, right, so when Anthem came out for a little bit, I tried that. It was super fun. I was really bummed out, right, that game went the direction that it did. But man, like, I haven't really played shooters since before they did all of this, right? Like, when I played shooters, it was basically just either did the campaign or you just hopped on multiplayer and you did it just because it was fun. It's been so weird for me to see shooter games implement all of the parts of like all the parts from like MMOs and stuff that I don't necessarily like, right? Like needing the constant progression. I wish there was a few more games that did it kind of Guild Wars 2 style, where, it wasn't that hard to get up to that max gear set. And then from there, your progression is based on skill and, new challenge. When new areas get added, maybe it's more difficult and you need higher skill level, but you don't have to go grind more gear in order to do it. It's a bummer that most people seem to really want a treadmill, though, because not having a treadmill is one of the reasons. It's like one of the only things that probably stops Guild Wars 2 from being more mainstream, which is so odd to me that people want the treadmill.
Or they're made really, really long to keep you grinding the same thing over and over. But there's two elements of it. One is the way you, what the reward is and how you get it. So those would be the levels. And then there's two is the gameplay involved with actually doing it. And typically, this falls into the category of just playing the same thing over and over and over and over again, regardless of how fun that system might actually be. And it doesn't matter, because as long as you're playing it, you're doing it all the time. You're playing their game. That's it. So even if you come down to like, and I know I've done this, something like the Burning Crusade Classic, which many people will be playing right now, and you're after that Spell Strike gear, you might be farming fire elementals for hours and hours and hours. And I spent like 12 to 14 hours grinding out motes of fire. And then I had to go and do the same with some other motes in order to eventually build this one set of gear. And you will say, I felt really accomplished when I did it. But for me, at least, and I think more and more people fall into this category every single day, is that you need to turn your brain off from it. Because what you're actually physically doing is really boring. You're just grinding, you're waiting for mobs to spawn, you're killing them, they're not too difficult. Then you're waiting for the next one, killing them, not too difficult. And this is where we turn to YouTube, we turn to Twitch.
I was going to say, right, this is why I like, most people, especially probably in the MMO genre, I don't think it's probably as common in competitive games and shooters and stuff, but I think in MMOs it's probably insanely common to need to have something on the second monitor while you're doing whatever like boring task that you're forced to do.
We turn to Netflix, we turn to whatever it might be to try and distract our brain from the fact that what we're doing is an incredibly monotonous process. And the same exists across tons of other games where you're just like, right, I need to... Recently, a good example would be my kids got into Plants vs. Zombies. And I thought, that's cool. They can do some shooting with some peas and pods and things like that. But then they started to discover like the hidden characters. They started to learn about the goals that were in the game.
The
and
games
what did they
kids
turn
will
into?
play. This looks
really
awful.
Endless grinds where they had to wait for certain events to happen, and then they had to grind out like 50 PvP matches in order to earn an X amount of crystals, and those crystals can then open a chest, which then leads you into something else where you can then get one chest reward.
What is even this game, dude?
It can take months.
There's so much crap all over the... There is so much crap all over the screen. Like, there's just all this and then random stuff popping in the middle. And like, what is this over here? This looks so confusing. It's just like vomit on the screen everywhere.
Line all the time. That's their purpose.
Yeah, we got this giant thing over here.
Doing something else. Well, Squeenix obviously doesn't have that approach. We've talked about it many times.
Is that actually fun? Dude, that looks so weird. Just looking at it, it's like, what the heck? I don't even know what this big thing over here keeps doing or what was like popping in the middle here. I don't really understand any of what's going on. You could just, they're just Gatling gunning peas down a line. It's so addictive. Oh my gosh. Dang, I'm the only one missing out. You guys are both on it.
Doing something else. Well, Squeenix obviously doesn't have that approach. We've talked about it many times now, and it's such a freeing experience because it allows their creative floodgates to open. Because when you don't start designing something with the goal of how do we keep players online all the time, when you drop that out of it, when you have the freedom to say, we're kind of okay if players don't engage with this. It's the same thing we talked about with our Bosnia content. And we just make it fun. People will play it if they enjoy it, and if they don't enjoy it, they're not going to play it, and that's okay. They'll play something else, but we'll have the confidence that they'll come back for what they do enjoy when we update that, and we update the game very regularly. And so that whatever they enjoy will likely come back later, and they'll resubscribe then, they'll come back for a month or two, or they'll leave, and then they'll come back again. And we're happy with that model, because that's worked out for us so far, and as we can see, it's a slow burn that has risen FF14 to the levels it's at now. Now, I encountered one of these systems. It's not a new...
Was it? I don't know if it was such a slow burn, right? Final Fantasies kind of had their, like, their niche audience for a while until finally it started with Asmongold playing it, and then several other creators started playing it, and then you can literally, like, see the correlation in times, like, when he started playing it and the other people started playing it, and it started shooting way back up. And since he hasn't been playing it as much, it has come back down some, but it's still better than it was. But it's insane how influential like influencers that are that big can be.
New system. I want to be totally clear on that. I want to be so fundamentally clear. This system is not new and it's not perfect, but Jesus Christ, is it a step in the right direction. And I want to talk about treasure maps. So I didn't know these existed. I have now played Final Fantasy for about 800 hours. Okay. I have no idea this system exists.
That's a lot.
I have now completed the MSQ. I finished Endwalker.
800 hours in with no idea that a crucial system that he is excited about was even there. That sounds interesting, but also like something off with the game there, that there's something good like that you could make it 800 hours in and not even know that it's there still.
Our videos are coming on that. I've been in Germany for 3 weeks working 16-hour days. So bear with me as we get back into the swing. What are the treasure maps? So I know for a lot of our FF14 viewers, you'll know what these are, but I also saw
you just said that really fast. What word did he say? He said something treasure map, but he said it really fast.
With me as we get back into the swing. What are the treasure maps? So I know for
what are the treasure
our
maps?
FF14 viewers, you'll know what these are, but I also saw a lot of people in the chat, and this is what happens when you're not forced and this content is not mandatory, who, one, didn't know about it, two, thought it was probably useless, and three, did know about it, but didn't understand that the rewards were actually really good. So, what is it? It's to do with professions. Right. When I say professions to you, certainly as MMO gamers and our WoW audience, what do you think of in terms of getting difficult and hard supplies? right? When you need those raw materials that are really tough. Well, the first thing you're going to think of is, oh, I probably need to farm something like Onyxia to get Onyxia scales to make Onyxia hide cloaks. I need to farm elementals and elemental plateau. I need to grind out a reputation over a series of time because it's probably time gated, or something along those lines in order to access a vendor who can then sell things. Or perhaps there's a random vendor that suddenly appears if I wear a magical cloak in the case of Najata. Or I need to do some sort of raid boss like Thok the Bloodthirsty in order to get something from that so I can then bring it in. But some sort of long grind, right? And it'll be the same for those of you who PvP and FPS games. It's like, okay, well, I need to get prestige level 30, then I will get some sort of gun upgrade, or I need to frag somebody with like 50 grenades, and then I'll get some sort of grenade upgrade, or something along those lines, where you're just like, okay, I'm presented with this thing, and I can almost mathematically calculate when I'll get it.
So weird that that's all in shooters now.
I can turn my brain off, I can go at it, I'm just going to go into this game, sometimes even to the point of scuffing your own gameplay because you're going to use a weapon or a tool or a utility that you don't particularly enjoy, but you really want that unlock. So you're going to play your character as you don't want to play it in order to find out about it. So now I've finished the MSQ, and I agree with Jesse Cox on this, is that FF14 is really an RPG MMO, because essentially I've played 800 hours of single player MMO. And now that's done, I'm starting to do what I always do, which is, okay, where's the MMO stuff? Where's the stuff that they've put in the game that I don't even know about, that's not story related, that's the MMO stuff? And I'm now dipping into professions, and I'm dipping into all these kind of things. And along that journey, I encountered treasure maps. So the system is pretty simple. When you're doing various activities, you can get a treasure map in a bottle. Now, I instantly had my heart sink thinking, this is probably something like Azerite Islands in Battle for Azeroth. Well, then you remember games like Sea of Thieves, where the treasure maps are really fun. It's like, okay, you got to get that out of your head. Let's give this a try, because that's what I'm here to do, is to find out.
It's got like PTSD from some other game having a shitty treasure map system. Because there are a lot of like systems, right? They'll sound similar, right? Like Lost Ark's got treasure maps also, but I'm really curious to hear what this treasure map system is, because he sounds actually excited about it. Whereas like, you know, Lost Arks are mostly just, you know, a quick way to make some more resources. There's not anything really like cool or exciting about them. It's nice that, right, the roadmap talked about some upgrades to how they work, at least, though, to make them a little less repetitive.
All these integral systems to the game. And I found something so cool. And all you do is you have this treasure map. You can decipher it, and it'll give you exactly what you would expect.
Okay, it looks exactly the fucking same as Lost Arks.
Somewhere in the world. And it will tell you what zone.
The actual map basically looked exactly the same. All right, what's next?
Zone it's in, which is great. So you click on that zone map, you browse the map, and you're like, okay, it's there. And there are set locations, although there's lots and lots of them. So after you've done a few, you instantly recognize where this place would be. And then you fly down there, and you do dig. So very similar to WoW's archaeology system, where you go down and you dig. But unlike that system, there's no, like, you need to stand on the exact correct point. As long as you're in the right area, it will just reveal the treasure box. And you get a treasure box. You click it, some mobs spawn, you kill them, and then you get a reward from the treasure box, which will be profession related. Now, everything I'm about to tell
this is insanely similar so far, guys. Really similar so far. Except I'll say the big difference I noticed right off the bat here was that they didn't have to go into a dungeon. And so the amount of people like limited to participate is probably not nearly as small, right? And probably easier to do it with friends because you don't have to go in. But the overall, like, here's the map, go to the spot on the map, and you just get some extra stuff. That's incredibly similar.
Tell you, it has nothing to do with professions. This is the first thing that I thought, genius. And I mean genius. Does this system have to specifically relate to the reward that comes from it? And the answer is, no, it doesn't. What it has to be is fun. It has to be fun first, and then we can reward whatever, because it won't matter. The players were having fun. So far, I've not described something super fun to you, but wait.
Okay.
And I would guess it's about 60 to 70% chance that a portal will spawn. And there are ways of gaining treasure maps which guarantee portal spawns every single time. This is when it got interesting, because what did I find? An entire, separated off from everything else, raid zone. And I'm not talking about some small corridor with some enemies tossed in there. I'm talking about fully fleshed out, theatrical, circus-like environment. And I'm going to be focused on the Endwalker iteration of this, because that's the latest one. But there are variations of this I will talk about.
All right, well, there's where it just went to the next level and sounds a bit more interesting. Right. The other, like the other map system, I haven't experienced any crazy cool ones or anything. They've all been pretty repetitive, fast, super easy. You know, I definitely haven't had like one of them be so crazy that it took me to like an actual different raid zone.
And I found this entire raid zone, and we got a raid team together.
What did he say here? That it was actually like cinematic and everything, like an actual raid zone.
So our 8-man team is now doing this content. Friends are now working together to do something for an afternoon. Instantly, so much better.
Also, 8 versus 4. You're really limited on a lot of like group content stuff other than like Legion raids in Lost Ark. It feels harder to play with more of your friends. Like the Chaos Gates straight up kicking you out of groups is really shitty. You know, I went there with some friends. We were all excited, like, oh yeah, let's go do them together, right? It'll be fun. You know, one dude was playing support, so he could actually do support stuff. Then we got kicked out of the groups, and then he was just like, well, what the hell? And we all ended up in different groups, different instance.
Why? Because what you're doing there is so good. So good. Come on, Paul. Oh, we not killed it. Come on, baby. Come on. A Paul has appeared. We ride.
Okay. All right, let's see inside the portal. He looks legit excited.
You presented
like
with
he got pretty happy.
And
he got excited.
There's another treasure chest. You get bonus rewards. So not only have you already gotten your base reward from just clicking the chest outside the world, now in the portal you get a bonus.
So this
reward.
is it.
Clicking on this chest,
that is a full-on weird zone.
Maybe it'll spawn a whole bunch of enemies. Nothing super difficult. Nothing that you can't clear in, say, 20 seconds or something like that. So nothing big, but something interesting to do. And then they start putting twists on it. That keep you
pretty cool.
Engaged. This could be a series of mobs spawning that have numbers over their head. So if you kill them in the right order, you'll get yet more rewards.
This is actually cool.
Or it'll be a treasure.
I'm starting to see why he's excited now. Right? My initial reaction was basically like, dude, this is like exactly the same as Lost Ark. The maps even look the same with the red X and everything. And then it was like, okay, it's a little more outdoors instead. But then these portals that can pop to take you into like a whole other zone that just looks interesting and he's saying are actually fun to do, especially probably, you know, when you're able to do it with, you know, like 8 of your friends. Starting to understand.
And you have to kill that before it escapes.
Because again, right, he was saying he was looking for, and this is one of the things I've talked about a bit, right? The more MMO feeling features, the things that are just in the game for like, do some stuff to have fun with your friends. This is Final Fantasy 14, but it's Preach talking about like, can MMO grinding be fun? He just recently discovered this map system in Final Fantasy 14. And right, my initial reaction was kind of like, this looks so similar, but then it's turning into like actually like, oh, this actually does look interesting and fun to do with friends. And he's saying that they're more interesting and fun. They're not super hard, but it is just kind of like MMO feeling stuff. And it sounds like you get decent rewards too. Pretty cool. Just looks like a cool system. Like it'd be great, you know, to see some expansion like this, and then also being able to do stuff with more than just 3 friends in Lost Ark, right? Being able to bump it up to like 8 for just casual stuff like that, it doesn't matter, would be really great.
It's in the mix of all the AoE that you're doing. This can happen during boss fights as well. So you're dealing with boss mechanics and suddenly there's an extra enemy and you have to ignore the boss, because if you kill the boss first, the enemy escapes. If you kill the boss first, the enemies don't count. So now you're fully engaged. Like, oh, we've got to do this, and it changes up the gameplay in what is just a basic, simple battle arena with a bunch of enemies in it. And then it mixes it up, so you're engaged. Okay, then you clear those enemies. You get the big reward out of the chest. And then a couple of things can happen. They put more twists on it. One of the things that can happen is you all get to play a game of higher or lower. You're presented with 2 playing cards. It can go between 1 and 9. And you'll be sold, okay, your first card is 2. Higher. Next card is 7. Lower. Next card is 3. Higher. This card is 8. And then you can get 5, and you're like, oh, God. What does this do? Essentially doubles the rewards from the treasure chest every single time, up to 5 times. So these rewards can massively outstrip what you should ordinarily get. And you're fun, because you're then engaged with your players. Like, should we go higher or lower? I don't know. But you also have the chance to drop out. So if you get a 5 and you're like, it could be higher or lower, we're right smack in the middle. It's a real 50-50 guess.
People seem to enjoy higher or lower. I know like Ludwig does entire like coordinated streams for making YouTube videos that are entirely based around like higher or lower and different things. Sometimes it's just movie ratings, sometimes it's how much things cost or whatever. People get a kick out of the higher or lower.
Maybe we just take our rewards and call it good. Maybe we risk it all to get a bunch of extra rewards. Maybe we don't. And then you have this really fun, engaging experience where your brain is engaged.
So you have to risk it each time, though? So you could, if you get it wrong, does it, like, reset back down to the original?
I'm not looking away at the screen. You're now focused on a very simple game that actually really benefits you. Because not only are you being rewarded with profession rewards, which is what you would want, so your rare linens, your rare logs, whatever it might be, you are now being offered the chance of just playing a game. And this is what I adored about this. You're just playing a game with your friends. You're having fun. And you're making decisions. You're thinking about it. You're trying to risk it and do all these kind of things. And it's just a game of higher or lower. It's nothing complicated. But if you do it right, you get showered in rewards. And these rewards include not just profession mats, but tons and tons of gear. Which is
like dude, Dork's just like bouncing the whole time. Yay!
You're passively acquiring the currency to furnish all your alts or even your main characters if you want to in raid level gear. So you're just passively gearing up other characters at the same time. That's just something you don't even think about. And then I played for one afternoon. I ended up capping them.
Dang, man, just passively getting the gear for your alts sounds pretty... Kind of sounds a lot nicer than enhancing through multiple tiers, man.
So I got like a normal.
Yo, Lost Ark, steal some of this system, yo.
Not leveled up to that level yet. Similar to what I did in Bosnia, is I have all this gear waiting.
Or borrow, yoink and twist, whatever they call it.
You're then presented with more options, right or left. Simple, and I love how simple they keep it because when you're with a.
This all sounds awesome, right? But the downside is this whole game is built around like one of the most boring combat systems I've ever tried to play. I don't think I lasted 2 hours. I tried because I heard the story was good. I heard the game was good. I see stuff like this, it's supposed to actually be like a good community MMO game. But the combat is just so boring and terrible starting out. And I don't know if it ever gets like actually good. It feels like it wouldn't. It's just, oh man, the initial is basically like, use this skill, then use this skill, and like wait a while, and then use this skill, and then use this skill.
Bunch of gamers, simple works super well. Do we go right or do we go left?
Yeah, I might have to like, I might have to try to just get past it, into the later parts, so that I can enjoy the other parts, right? Because the other stuff, the more community focused, and it's seeming like there is more of that MMO-ness. That people tend to engage in the game, it seems like. That part really appeals to me.
In that you can choose right or left.
But I didn't make it past early game combat.
Many different animations that can play out. It could just open for you, and then you proceed to the next area where you can continue on. Ultimately, there's a set of 5, which results in a mega boss, and I'll get there to a second. Or it'll half close, look like it's going to close you out, and then let you through. Or it will fully close and then pop a red alert sign, so you're all getting kicked out of the instance. And then it can be...
The 14 raid scene is really interesting. Raids are like a dance pre-scripted with loves of mechanics. Probably meant like loads of mechanics, I'm guessing. Lots of mechanics, yeah. Yeah, I do miss the MMO part of MMOs. Yeah, man, that's the part that's really gone. It's the part that's... It's really... It's felt gone in a lot of them, right? But I know it's kind of still there. It's just... Or like Guild Wars 2 is a bit more community, focused and such like that. But I played that game from launch, and I played it a lot. I have like thousands and thousands of PvP matches and ridiculous amount of hours in World v World. And, I have several characters at the max level and such already. So it's just kind of a game like I got what I wanted out of it. And when I go back to play it now, it's just kind of weird because like the friends I had that played it don't play it anymore. I'd have to make new friends in the game. Also, like, I feel overloaded by the inventory management every time I load back into it. I always end up talking about that whenever I play the MMOs. I hate the inventory management. Elden Ring also spoiled me on that regard. You just like no inventory limits, no weight limits or whatever, right? All you have to worry about is the equipment load you put on the character. But like other than that, you can just You just loot stuff and not worry.
Rescued at the last second, so the screen will actually fade out before it comes back. So you're like, oh my god, we got kicked out. I can't believe it on door number 1 or whatever. And you get to go through. And the same can happen at like the final door, and you're sat there and you're like, oh my god, if we get the final door, and this is rare to have happen. I think the 6 hours I did this, we only got to the last boss 1 time. Not that we were consistently showered with rewards up to that point.
And he was enjoying it enough to do it for 6 hours. Well, it does sound like the entire thing, the way it's built, that you would have like every run would feel and be different because of the way it all works. What is this? Is this the waiting for the? This is the seeing if the door is gonna open. What?
No way!
All right.
No way! Rygang does it! Rygang brings it home with...
This is RNG in an MMO done right, is what it looks like right here. You saw like the waiting, right? But like he's talking about the entire time, all of it's fun. Even if they don't get that door to open, it's fun. But then when that door opened, it was super fun. And there's probably no punishment if the door doesn't open. And this is like the good kind of RNG in an MMO versus, you know, like other certain types of RNG that like to get put in MMOs that just make you feel bad when it doesn't go the other way. Whereas this one, it sounds like he was having fun enough to just do it for 6 hours, running these maps because they're different each time, and just having a good time. And it's all just more rewards.
Well, the cool thing is when you get to the last boss and you have that door open, is you then get a nice big boss, not super difficult again, not intended to be. This is for fun. It's just giving you the rewards. Then you get the mega chest at the end, which has 100,000 gil in it. Not huge to long-term players, but still a decent amount of change. Then you can get to Gamba again. And you can get up to 500,000 gil each if you play this out correctly. And you have that huge like tension of risk reward. And at no point have I mentioned throughout this, did I get my profession drop. That just happens naturally as you're playing.
Yeah. This is Preach, new video. I saw it this morning before the stream, and I saved it to watch on here. It was called MMO Grinding Can Be ... fun. And I was really interested. And so far, the video has been really cool. It all... Would you say F that guy? Why is that? I would say this all starts out pretty good, man. It's like, you know, initially it was looking kind of like a map system that was just kind of like Lost Arks, but then it goes on to be this really interesting, fun-looking system. But I'm curious why you say F that guy. What did he do?
Playing. It just naturally happens in the background of you enjoying the game. This is farming in a new way, because for a long time, the game devs, as I've seen through the ridiculous MMOs I've been playing Destiny this week, we've been playing EVE Online, all these kind of things. I've been trying to reinvent the wheel of how do we change farming for the modern audience, because yeah, sure, 2 decades ago, grinding out enemies was pretty normal. I did it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch a ton of his content, but from what I've seen, his channel covers quite a few games, not just FF14. But a lot of people have found stuff they like in the game. I personally didn't enjoy the combat system, but a lot of the social aspects of the game do appeal to me, because I feel like that part is missing in most of the MMOs that I've played that are, you know, kind of more current, other than Guild Wars 2. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of community stuff other than just like horrible chat in the server chat in most MMOs. That's kind of like the primary social experience, is reading really fucked up stuff in the server chat.
Most of you done it. Most of you probably still do it today. But a more modern audience with so many gaming options available to them will be turning their nose up at the idea of like, I just have to farm. And you look at games like New World, where as soon as I started clicking those stones and trees and just watching a cast bar fill up, I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. And
yeah, but those get way better with better tools, dude. You're supposed to upgrade your tools.
Is how I felt about it. It's like, okay, if I need to level this up, I'm just going to have to sit here and click trees and watch YouTube, watch Twitch, watch whatever. in order to get through this. But I need to do it because I want to level.
It's kind of sad. I feel like New World has the best gathering system of any MMO. I found it pretty satisfying to do. They got like the sounds and everything really down. And then all you needed was upgraded tools. And then, you know, you bust those trees in like one hit.
Pull this up, which is what a lot of the devs are hoping you'll do. They're like, yeah, you're still playing though, right? Still playing. So just click those trees and keep getting it done. And it was one of the things that immediately turned me away. I was like, I don't do this anymore because I can go and play something else.
And that's true also.
I can have gameplay. And that's what I'm looking for in my games. That's why I love the Soul series and all those. Is I love gameplay. I want to be playing the game. Clicking on a tree.
Yeah, dude.
Not really the gameplay. I'm looking.
Fucking Elden Ring got me with the Soul series, and I'm pretty tempted to find out like what's the, you know, find one of those, one of the old ones, super cheap on Steam or something, and pick it up to play next. There's something about playing a game and not having any of the like microtransaction-y bullshit and all the other fucking horse crap going on, and the game just being fun and wanting to play it just because it's fun. That's really like ruining a lot of other games for me right now.
Looking for, man. That's not the thing I'm looking for. Now, I said it wasn't perfect. It's not perfect because, of course, you can be RNG'd out, and if you are looking for a specific drop, there's some randomness to it, whether you get through the doors or not. But that is so alleviated by the fact that, one, I'm not doing anything boring, and I'm having fun. I'm constantly looking at the screen. Right? Look, think of the things I mentioned. We're clicking the chest. There's mobs spawning. Okay, I'm looking at that. My attention is starting to drift away. Then it's like, oh, we've got the ordered mobs to kill. Okay, so I'm back in the game again. Oh, we've got the treasure goblins here. I need to do that. And the music changes to let you know that there's something else going on. Then we have to pick the door. Okay, right or left. And then the higher or lower spawn. It's like, okay, I'm invested here. All the time, I'm being drawn back into having fun and engaging. That's what I loved about this system. It had nothing to do with like, oh, you're after, say, a certain rare piece of hide, a certain piece of leather, a certain piece of iron ingots or something. So let's go and farm 50 iron deposits to see whether that thing drops. This has nothing to do with that.
That's definitely not nearly as fun.
Idea.
That's definitely not nearly as fun.
Letting people just have fun first, rewards later. And this is how a lot of great businesses have started. I don't know if you know this, and this is a bit like out there, but Spotify, for example, if you learn the history of Spotify, they were like, we don't care how we monetize this yet. Okay. What we're going to do is make it cool. We want to make it awesome. Let's make this system cool. We'll find out how we make money on it later on. Because the reverse happens in a lot of online gaming system, which is like, right, how...
Actually, I guess that's a good point. A lot of like stuff that starts out and initially that are really cool, it's kind of started like that. You know, like the the original MMO that was in this like, you know, this view, the EverQuest, like that game was made. These guys didn't have any fucking clue what they were doing, man. They were like they just played MUDs and stuff, and they're like wanted to try to make a MUD in like more of a graphical form, you know, with an actual interface and stuff, and an actual world that you could explore. And they just kind of started trying to do it. They didn't even have tools for like testing, you know, things like the way, you know, you expect a game to be tested now, you know, properly and come out and not be totally broken and have to be fixed because you were basically like the guinea pig beta test. But back then, that was absolutely like the normal. They didn't even have testing tools for running mass scale tests. They did a little bit of testing what they could with their people, like in house, and then they would just put it out. And you pretty much knew like every patch it was going to come down to fix like whatever they discovered on that first day.
How do we make money off this? Well, we keep people engaged, so that promotes microtransactions. It makes our monthly active users look better. And again, this isn't just a WoW thing. This is like nearly every game. And FF14 still has this. I've just dipped my foot into professions overall, and I just started doing botany, which is like, okay, you go and click trees. They've made it a bit better by providing you spells and combos, and I haven't finished it out yet, so I want to see where it goes. Ultimately, you're riding around, you're clicking on trees, and you're on bushes, and you're collecting.
I've heard Final Fantasy XIV's like profession system has like some pretty weird, you actually have to do like special combinations of keys and stuff to craft things and whatnot, instead of just pushing like one button to try to make it less just click
rewards from them.
And then click. And then click.
Choose your rewards, which is moi, but it's still there in some way. But looking at this treasure map system is so good. The other flaw is if people don't engage with it, they don't know it's there. If you're not making it happen, a lot of people.
A lot of this looks weird to me.
My audience was like, "Oh, this is actually really cool."
Like big bright circles.
I've never done this before. This is actually pretty awesome.
It's like a casino
and then
shit.
You have the problem
What
of
is
people
this?
looking for specific drops will get annoyed with the randomness a little bit. Even though they're getting showered with the rewards, they may not want those. They may be like, okay, I get a ton of gold. I get a load of tombstones or whatever to get all this gear. But what I'm really after is that one thing. And there are other ways of getting those things. But here's a side activity that you could do with your friends that is super fun. Not only that, it gets better. It does.
Okay, so I guess it was just an example of like another one, how it basically looks different like every time. Which you can see why, yeah, it's keeping it interesting. I was like, what the hell is this? We've been watching this for like almost 20 minutes. I hadn't seen one that looked like that yet.
Second expansion. And all of them have different ones. Different battle arenas, different styles of playing. So there's roulette. They've really gone with the gambling style. And I think that's really cool, especially when you have some influence, or even if you feel like you have some influence.
I personally wish there was a little bit less focus on gambling stuff in MMOs. Everything's got to be all gambly. But it works. It's because it fucking works. But it's so I feel like it's bad because games are like so heavily marketed towards kids also. I wish there was like less gambly shit in them. Also, I'm just not a big gambler, so, you know. The gamble side of stuff never appeals to me.
Make that choice. The roulette one is automated, but it's still fun to see where the thing's going to land.
Get out
whether
of
you
the
spawn
orange.
a giant raid boss, a weak boss, get kicked out, get rescued. I had a ridiculous situation. The most bizarre RNG I've ever had in any video game is in the roulette one. We failed 3 times in a row and got rescued. And I've never seen anything like that. We got pulled out by a primal god who rescued us to allow us to play on and gave us a huge boss in return. So although we failed, we actually got this. Now, of course, in the background, it's like, well, you didn't really fail. The system is designed to show you that you won, but you still get that response like, oh my God, we got kicked out on the second go. Rescued? We're back in the game. Oh God, we failed again. Rescued? We're back in. What is going on? And having that visceral emotional reaction.
What is this rescued mechanic?
And let's remember that what we're doing here. We're farming profession mats. I've never had that in my life. I've never had that in my life. Come on, one more. We've lost the last 2 rounds. You can't make us lose 3 in a row.
That's probably not a bad point there, Preach. I don't think I have ever had fun really farming profession mats either. I was just saying before with like New World's thing, right? Is like out of the MMOs I've played it with for just the basic gathering system, I thought theirs was the best just because of the authenticity of like sound and such appealed to me. But I'm a dork, right? Like my favorite tool is a hand forged axe that I've had for years, right? And like I take care of it and I oil the handle to make sure it never dries out, you know, and I oil the axe head to make sure it never rusts. And you know, I'm a total dork with it. And I, you know, every once in a while, like if I need to cut down a tree and the tree's not super massive, I do it with the axe just for nostalgia instead of using my chainsaw, just because I'm a dork, right? So for me, just the sound, like when I heard the axes hitting the trees in New World, I was like, this sounds right. This sounds right. It sounds good. And that really appealed to me. What are the yellow ones? Oh, apparently that's not the one he wanted. Are you hoping for the yellow ones, I'm guessing? Are those the big specials or what? What is this? What the frick, dude?
What's the God's name?
If you're gonna say one thing, like he definitely looks engaged and entertained by like what's going on. You know, it doesn't look like he's bored. And this is just profession mat farming you can do, and that's definitely a pretty cool system.
Holy shit! Motherfucking chaos!
Nothing that exciting happens using maps in other games that I've done, man. You just kind of like follow the map, right? And then you do the thing real quick and then it's over. This is definitely the coolest map system I've seen so far.
It's such a step in the right direction, and another piece of the puzzle.
Or treasure map, whatever.
When you design systems without thinking, how do we just keep the player online all the time? It frees you up to just get wild and get wacky with it.
Please.
And I really hope this is something that other game devs take into account, because I want to do them a lot more. Whereas
Just worth noting, like Lost Ark has stuff like that coming, right? I'm almost like I'm surprised I haven't seen more on that, right? Though, because like when I put out some videos on it before, it's like there's already video footage of some of these cool, you know, kind of silly horizontal content that they're planning for the game, right? Like these the MOBA mode and this other mod mode that they had, like where they had several other game modes in it, and then just some other mini game modes and like the monster mini game fighting like mode and all these things that like these are the things that for me like need to get put as priority to go into the game sooner. Like I don't personally care about more raids, right? The way the game is structured, like I don't really enjoy the gear progression system at all. Like I'm not really worried about the next tier of raid and the next tier of raid and the next tier of raid. I just want the fun, just that silly fun content to do that will probably lend itself also to like some more social stuff, or at least just random entertaining videos and shit. That's what I'm looking forward to, and that's not getting talked about. It's one of the reasons you don't see me like as excited and hyped about the game currently. Is I'm kind of waiting on things that I know are coming, but they're not there yet, and they're not even being talked about yet.
When I'm farming, I'm just like, at least for me, and you guys probably feel the same in most cases, just like, oh my god, I've got to go. If I can't play right now, I've got to go and farm elementals. I've had that conversation. I've got to go and do.
Got to go do guardian raids.
I need potions. I need flasks. I need food. I have to go and farm chimeras or whatever it might be. So I can't PvP with you right now. I can't do some dungeons with you right now. I have to go and stand and do fishing. And it's not a case of I even want to do it. I need to do it in order to do the gameplay later. And that's where the big difference came from me. So I really wanted to just talk about the system, is how impressed I am and how...
Yeah, it looks like a great system, man.
I feel this is in such a step in the right direction. Is to one, okay, it's profession related. Does the system involved in farming it need to be profession related? No. Okay. No. Do we need people to feel like they have to do this? No. So what should we do with it? Let's just have weird and wacky fun with it and create something that a group of 8 people can be like, oh, hey, do you want to go and do this?
It looks really cool.
Even how many activities do you actually do large scale with your friends?
Some of it look kind of like honestly silly visually and whatnot for me. But in general, like you say, like it definitely looked fun and more interesting than other treasure map systems that I've seen.
MMOs or anything right now. Not many. It's usually raiding, M+ or dungeons or some. Do you want level together? This gave you another route. It's like, hey, do you want to go farm a load of money and a load of alt gear and get some really expensive crafting materials that we can sell or we can use or whatever? Yeah. That sounds awesome. While having a fun system. That's such a huge departure from what I'm used to that I adored it so much. So there it is, dudes. You guys have probably also noticed, I should point them out, these displays behind me. These are our designs.
Ooh.
Yeah? These are designed by Chris here.
All right, well, we'll leave it in just out of respect.
This one, Chris will probably put a better picture here. Let's say here of our Emmett Selk Armorot one. Best-selling display on display. It's amazing. So go check those out as well, because we've got like 29% discount code below. Ooh. They're awesome. They're so good. I'll see you again, dudes. Bye-bye.